Hello, hello, hello. How you doing? Do you like my Christmas pud hat? Sharona, oh Sharona, thank you. Look at that.
Hi everyone.
Self-knitted. Nadia's just off camera. She's just sending an email. Now, Sharona, Nadia was going to wear hers, but she's just done her hair, so she will wear hers tomorrow. But thank you. They're beautiful. It's snug as a bug in a rug. It's really nice. How are we all this morning? How is everyone? You all good? Morning, Linda McDonald. Morning, Debbie Sanderson, Faith Goodman.
Morning everybody. Good morning. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. Should we kick off with one quick quiz question? Let's have a little Christmas quiz question before we go into the horrible
news. You can't
news.
just bowl in like that with your lipstick and your curly hair.
What's the matter?
You said we're not having a row, but we are having a row.
Babe.
Look at my t-shirt, guys. Can I just ask, just quickly before we do ask a question, this is the symptom I had yesterday, and I want to know what it is a symptom of. I had the most intensely itchy left nipple all day, to the point that I need, at its worst, I wanted to get a pair of scissors. Surely homeopathically this is interesting. A pair of scissors to cut it off. I was at the cinema with Maddie last night, and I said to her, I literally need to cut my nipple off with a pair of scissors. And she said,
When you go,
what is that?
Do you remember when I was first in menopause and I didn't know I was, and I had to like get a hairbrush and scrape my whole body because it was so itchy. I just wanted to take the skin off.
Eczema.
No, that was my menopause itching.
Oh.
So you know, if it's just your nipple, that's pretty good.
Just my nipple, but it was...
Best thing to do is tap and itch rather than scratch.
Russ says it could be washing powder. I mean, it
Not
was...
on one nipple though.
Well, no, but it was so intense it woke me up. I think it might have been what woke me up at 4 a.m. the other night. I mean, my nipple was protuberant
Well,
all
have you
day.
felt it? Have you got any lumps? Itching is a symptom of breast cancer. And men do get breast cancer.
Fucking hell, is this supposed to make me feel better?
Well, what, you're telling me you was woken up by such a severe itch in your left nipple?
Severe itch in my left nipple.
You lift up your arm. You know you have to check all along here. Men are supposed to check their breasts in the same way that women, so all the way round.
Don't.
Well, what do you want me to say?
That hurts. There's nothing there.
All right.
There's no lumps there.
This is what it's like living with a hypochondriac. Mark.
You have to do it in a certain way. Don't push your fingers. Let me push you. Don't do it.
I've done it.
Don't.
And I'm pushing my fingers
Don't.
in
That
to
is
shut
so
you the
itchy.
fuck up.
Just feel. Can you feel a lump?
I'm sure this is
Can you feel a
fascinating
lump?
for everybody.
Excuse
no,
us.
it doesn't work like that. It's not how you do it. You have to go all the way around. You have to go along here. You have to go under your arm.
Do you feel anything? You're not even feeling.
Hello, everybody.
Karen A. Smith. Hope you're well. Hope it's cool. I hope it's warm up there. How is everyone? How is everyone? What do you think? Never heard of it. It's a current EastEnders storyline, Natasha Meldrum. What, itchy nipple or male breast cancer? Because it is something. It is actually, not to make light, it is actually a serious thing. But I hadn't entertained
I've interviewed
that
a couple of men over the years who've had breast cancer. Honestly, you do have to keep your eye open.
Oh God.
So, what is the most common day? What is the most common day of the year for breakups, Mark? You can be the first to guess.
Monday.
No.
Oh, day of the year.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh, I'm surprised about this.
2nd of January.
That's what I would have thought. New Year's Day, everyone's saying. Boxing Day, says Faith Goodman. New Year's Day. Boxing. Quite a lot of you saying Boxing Day. Billy May, Saturday. Oh, you're thinking actually the 11th of December.
Wow. We've just got
That
past
seems
that.
a bit much. Just before, Mark, this is going to be boring for people.
Faith just said, check your
Yeah, but
armpits.
she doesn't mean now while we're doing the
You
live.
do, don't you, Faith? You mean now? This is happening as you speak. It's not itchy now.
We're also pleased now that your left nipple is not itching.
No, I'm in a tailspin of fear. Valentine's Day, some people are saying.
So the good news, Christmas Day is the least likely day to split with your partner. I'm quite surprised about that. I would have thought people would get to the end of the day of the disappointment and the letdownness of it all and just go, do you know what? I fucking hate you.
Do you know what's quite cool? We've got past the 11th. Do you know it's the 14th of December? There's only 10 more days of
Have
Vlogmas.
you found, ever since we've been doing Vlogmas, December flies so fast?
Yeah,
Much faster than normally.
yeah.
Anyway, so
Yes.
where are we at? How are you all feeling? I did a live last night after I was watching Sky News, and I just suddenly got enraged with the injustice of the scaremongering again. Oh my God, if I hear one more scientist say, yes, well, of course, there's a chance there could be mild symptoms, but now,
No,
and Boris yesterday saying just park the idea that there could be mild symptoms.
Someone died with.
With Omicron, not of Omicron. And the thing is, we all know now how to keep safe. You know, you have your vaccines if you want one. If you don't, that's fine, because it doesn't stop transmission. You wear your masks. You keep a distance. If you have your LD, you always open a window. Don't go in a non-ventilated room. And then we hope for the best. Why do we have to sit stewing in the worst case scenario? Why are we told to completely discount what's happening in South Africa? It's the same variant. There is a chance, there's a really good chance that it could whip through, and the majority of people that get it have mild symptoms.
They're playing fast and loose with this Omicron. I can see it in the eyes of all the ministers. They know they've got a rebellion on their hands. They know they know they're low in the polls. They've got all sorts of crises around parties and quizzes and all that sort of stuff. I wanted to ask, actually, Stacey, did you do the questions for the government quiz?
I wondered that myself.
I did wonder. They've heard about you. They've got all these things going on, and it feels like there's almost, I tell you what I've noticed, there's almost a sort of relish and spring in the step as they come out and say, this is a national incident, this is a first death, this is the... They want this, they need this development, this recent development, to be a little bit worse than perhaps it's going to be. Okay, you have to say we don't know for sure, but the real world data, as we'll keep reminding, I mean, I know someone came back on something and said they were a bit disappointed with what we were saying about South Africa, that the cases were going up. The head of the chief medical advisor, essentially, to South Africa said the cases are going up. It's not about the cases going up, it's about the hospitalisations.
The cases are coming down now in South Africa.
But
the thing is, they have a population of 60 million, and they have 850 people that need oxygen in the entire country.
But to be fair, there are mitigating circumstances.
And 450 that are on ventilators. That's horrendous, but that's a tiny proportion. Listen, this is what we're saying, just to be really clear. Mm-hmm. Yes, this could turn out to be a lot worse than South Africa, but as long as we are all doing what we know is the best thing to do, then why do we have to stew in the worst case scenario? We've both done therapy, we've both done CBT, as many of you have, and what are you taught? Right here, right now, I'm safe, I'm okay. To be constantly thinking ahead of just how bad it could be is not good for our mental health. And mental health is never discussed when we do. Actually, Sajid Javid gave a nod to it yesterday in the House. But, for instance, right, this is what I was saying last night on my live. Think about last Christmas, okay? We were in a much, much, much worse position. We had a deadly variant, which was the Delta, and at the moment, all we know about this variant is that it causes mild symptoms, okay? So we had a deadly variant, we had no vaccine, and all we had was the hope that we could be vaccinated the next year. We also didn't have 90% antibodies, which is the figure that comes from the National Statistics Office. So we didn't have all those. What do we have this year? We are swimming, we are bathing, we are showering, we are luxuriating, we're backstroking in vaccines, okay?
For a minute I was thinking, when were we swimming?
We have 90%, and the country has 90% antibodies, and we have a variant that at the moment causes mild symptoms. That's cause for hope.
It is.
That's all I'm saying. Why can't we have hope? One son of a bitch after another on these programs. Well, yes, we don't really know, but it's very important that we've got a tidal wave, we've got a tsunami.
Who are you being
We
now?
are going to war. I'm just being generic
Generic scientist.
bastard.
Can I also just say that when you work in a newsroom, and I did in my first job, When you work in a newsroom, you can find anyone, any pundit to support the line that you want to promote. So, there'll be a whole list of people where your news editor will say to you, can you get someone who's really pro-vaccines? Can you get someone who's really anti-vaccine? So
we're never getting both sides.
you're never getting both sides, but also the news agenda. I saw someone mentioned, I think it was you, Russ, saying, the media outlets have a vested interest in churning out this stuff. We've said it so many times. They're scaremonger and all this kind of stuff. But the other point that, who was it says? Kimberly Jones, it's behavioural science. A frightened community is easier to influence. And the evidence yesterday, as I was driving back through London, of mile-long queues outside booster places was quite astonishing to behold, because I've got mine booked on the 16th, and I'm booked on the 16th. I didn't feel the need to rush out yesterday.
Because what did the this government do? They induced panic. And I think it was Russ there said it's really hard when you're an anxious person to not get steeped in the negativity. But it really does take real resolve. It takes willpower to say to yourself, this is what I know. I'm taking the precautions. I'm not investing in this narrative. We have to watch all the news and read all the news and listen to LBC all the time because we do this. But if you don't need to, then just don't. Just don't, because it's only going to increase your anxiety. It's not going to change your day for the good at all. Do nice things. Be kind to yourself. Look for the spark of joy. And I think Boris yesterday saying, park what we know about South Africa, just park. Oh, park hope. Park hope.
Melanie Williams says that's a both sides fallacy, Mark and Nadia, about, pulling on two different sides. I like to kind of not just talk to people who are an echo chamber is pointless. That's a both sides fallacy, Mark and Nadia. The pro-vaccination stance is supported by science. There is an enormous amount of science, obviously. It is supported by science, but I think question marks start to creep in when it's financially incentivized science. We've got to be able to have moments of caution, be querulous. It's relatively new. I mean, someone else just asked the question, what does mild mean? And this is something that I think is a really important question. When they say mild, what do they mean mild? So I can understand people's fears likewise with Omnicrumpet, that mild to one person is not mild to someone else. What this begs for is more detailed science. I mean, I personally think they should be going back to daily press conferences where the scientists can be, grilled and questioned and challenged in more detail. But it's a pointless, it's like, what's it called when you work with a kind of, what's that, not a chocolate sword, what's it called when you work with a...
teapot.
Not a chocolate teapot, there's something else when you work with a blunt, something that melts when you push it into something. Anyway, it's a bust flush. It's a bust flush.
Is that what a chocolate...
No, it's not at all. I've jumped on another analogy. It's a bust flush. It's a bust flush a press conference if all your journalists are only looking for headlines that can scare the population rather than interrogating the scientists about the proper fucking science.
I think you're absolutely right. I think the thing is we're always left with more questions than we are answers.
Totally.
And I think, that's why people end up looking around for other stuff because you just don't feel like you ever get to the bottom of anything. I mean, the last we heard from Chris Whitty when they announced Plan B was hospitalisations are down and deaths are down. Now, we know that there is this delay, isn't there? People get infected and then it's a few weeks down the road, that they may or may not get into hospital. But I suppose my point is if you're doing everything that you know you can do, arming yourself with everything you can do to protect yourself, why let them continue on a daily basis to scare the shit out of you?
Laura Lou, good God, says, my family is burying... Sorry, it's just flown up. My family is burying my cousin today and Boris has made them too scared to go. Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. And that as well, it's just, again, it's all out of kilter. I was in a packed theatre on Thursday night. Mark and I went to...
Interestingly, can I just say in your defence there, with your mask off when you were drinking?
Only when I was drinking.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying, just reiterated.
And then we were in a market, an indoor market on Sunday, and the heat.
Yeah.
I have to say that theatres in the West End now have such state-of-the-art ventilation. It's probably quite a safe place to be. You can feel them sucking out. But that market we were in on Sunday...
Oh, yeah, well...
we were masked. We were masked. Yeah. But it was the heat in there and all the stalls were packed together. So
I mean, one room
people are
almost
now being
looked like
scared
a
of going
COVID,
to
looked like
a
a COVID
to a-
cell, didn't it?
Yeah.
One room was like a
but
COVID
so
cell.
then people now being scared to go and say goodbye to their loved ones. It's just
Faith Goodman makes a really
It's
interesting
all
point.
out
If
of
this
balance.
crumpet variant is mild, there will be huge problems if the next crumpet variant is much more deadly. It's a very, very important point. Can I also just say,
Yeah.
someone just wrote there, sorry, I lost your name because it's flying up so quickly, but someone said in Germany, the police stopped a bus, got on the bus and asked to look at their COVID passes. I think that's quite chilling, especially with Germany's history. I'd have thought that was quite a chilling moment.
A friend of mine was in the lift yesterday with another friend of hers with their mask on, and a woman got into the lift and went, double vaccinated? And they were like, yeah, good.
Sabina
No
Byrne.
unvaccinated people or unmasked people. I said, God, did she work there? And she went, no, she was just a customer.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of what's coming in, what's planned to come in, they didn't even fucking do in East Germany. I mean, I'm really worried about all of that. I really am worried. That's why I'm glad there's just such a furore going on today for the government.
Yeah.
Because
I
I
mean-
think we do give away freedoms, and then before we know it, we've given away a whole
But that-
whole load of stuff. We
But that's going to one of the stories. That's the opposition from the backbenchers of the Tory party. One of them has aligned it to Nazi Germany, suggesting that the restrictions are that bad. The Labour Party obviously are supporting the COVID passport thing. You could argue, well, why don't they use this as an opportunity to? But if they play politics, then Boris has got that line that you can.
I
keep
didn't like
trotting
him
out.
saying we are patriotic. I didn't like that
Who?
at all.
Keir.
Keir.
Yeah.
I think it's just because what it does
This
is
is
it
beyond
excludes people again
This is
that are
beyond that.
choosing not to have the vaccine.
But it's also
right?
beyond patriotism. What is
It's
all this
beyond.
nonsense?
It's old-fashioned shit. It really is, and it's just again, it's so obvious. It's treating people like they're stupid. People are going to make that decision solely
Yeah.
on whether it's right for their body or not. I'm afraid
Yeah.
they are, aren't they?
Yeah,
If somebody really feels scared of the vaccine, they're not going to have it because Keir Starmer says do it for your country. They're just not.
No. I saw Total Storm Addict, Minky Moo. Here in Australia, we hear it's up to 50%. In America, Minky Moo, F off. I don't know if that's what you meant to write. Minky Moo, it's deranged, absolutely. What was I going to say? In America, interestingly, where obviously the Delta variant is the most predominant still at the moment, Omicron crumpet will get there. But there isn't this level of hysteria or bad management of it seeming to come from the government. So there isn't that sort of... I mean, it's literally like Boris said on Sunday night, adopt crash positions, and everyone went, "Blah!" like that. I mean, and the most ridiculous part of all of it is everyone's... So here's the thing. We're trying
I'll
to
ask
do
him,
we're trying to
Gabrielle.
do everything possible to stop the NHS being overwhelmed. And then Boris, with his announcement and ludicrously ambitious suggestion of how many boosters could be done by the end of today, has put the NHS under pressure. The NHS is now under pressure because of the booster situation. So the government have done the very thing they're claiming to stop doing.
They're cracking up. They're saying we
the-
can't do it. How does that leave you feeling again about Boris? That he's come out and made this massive, great promise that everyone in the NHS is saying simply cannot be done?
Yeah. What do I feel about it?
Yeah, but I mean, he looks like a next level idiot for doing that. Just coming out and making like an empty
Yeah, but
promise
it's
to
kind of-
grab the moment.
But it's him kind of handing the decision to other people, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just him sort of making an absolute promise and then someone else go and do it, please. It's ludicrous. So what's happening is you've got everywhere the system is now creaking in a way. Just before Christmas, it didn't need to creak quite so steadily. And what they're going to do, here's the thing. I tell you what how the narrative is going to run. Omicron is going to come through as potentially milder, not mild for everyone, but a less severe version of Delta. When it does, the government are going to claim a huge success because of the booster program, and they're going to try and go into the new year using that to clamber their way back. I mean, think about it. We're all nudging parties and quizzes down the kind of conveyor belt, aren't we? We're all forgetting about it. This is Boris's tactic. Nudge it back, nudge it back, nudge it back. New. Oh, right, we're in something else. And he's waiting for that sweet spot that when he can strike and go, look what I've done. The vast majority
That's
of people
what
go,
he's done
oh,
his
look,
whole
he's done
life.
that. We'll forgive him
With
this.
his 12 children, with his wives, that's what he's done his whole life.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, I think that's what he's doing, and I think this is just these are all elements of that. There's a word called filibustering, which is a parliamentary term for just talking incessantly to stop an act of law becoming an act of law. It's like just bullshitting constantly to waste time. And Boris is a great one but he's a very strategic time waster. He nudges a story to the back. He'll try and concentrate on something else. It'll be the first step to something else. He's looking at the success story of the booster programme, which he knows will happen because they have the intelligence probably that Omicron isn't that bad.
Catherine Clausen in Denmark. Yeah, you've got very high figures there, haven't you? We are getting lots of cases and many are vaccinated, but hospital rate is stable and it seems milder than Delta.
Milk Honey says he makes me not like humans. I know what you mean. I mean, he has us all for fools. He really does.
Yeah, exactly, Pink Lady. So cancelling appointments
Thanks,
for the
Rona.
boosters
My head's getting a bit hot.
to avoid having to cancel appointments.
Sorry?
Cancelling appointments to avoid having to cancel appointments.
Yeah.
It's
crazy.
You know what? I think when somebody stands opposite you and says such crazy things, what happens? Well, gaslight. You start to think it's you that's going mad.
Well, that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
But that's what they're doing.
Because you think it can't be this crazy.
I tell you what I was yesterday, certain parts of London, I was really surprised. I was really surprised by how many people were out queuing.
Panicking.
I was surprised. I was kind of, it sounds really weird, but something about it made me really worried. It made me really fearful about society because it means that this madness is filtering down to, this isn't about I'm not talking about, and I'm not suggesting that you don't get vaccinated or you don't get your booster. I'm booked in. But most people were booked in, and I don't.
Yeah, and then they panicked.
And then
there was this lovely little old man. He had his booked in yesterday, right? And he'd had his booster, and he had multiple illnesses and stuff. So very important that he got his booster. He got to the vaccination centre, and there was this horrific queue that he then had to queue in for 2 hours in the rain for his appointment that had been booked. If Boris hadn't induced that panic on Sunday night, he probably would have just wandered into the vaccination centre and got vaccinated. So there was 18-year-olds ahead of him. Oh, that was right. He didn't get vaccinated in the end. He couldn't get there. He couldn't get to the queue. But there was, it said all 18-year-olds go and get your boosters. Well, so you've got 18-year-olds getting their boosters. And they don't stop transmission, so they're not getting their boosters to stop transmission to get to older people. It was showboating. It was showing off. And what happened is, if we just think of that one little old man who'd gone with his appointment card to get his booster, who really needed it, went home without it. There'll be millions of cases like that.
Tell you what, a question I'd like to be asked, I believe they have an obligation, a duty and a responsibility to return to daily press conferences. I really do, actually.
I do.
But one question I think needs to be asked of the scientists is this. How do they know, and why, the why is more important, does the booster give you so much more protection?
I literally
want to know the science of why the booster is so much more effective than the 2 vaccines before.
We read an interesting article yesterday that was saying, and there's going to be more of this. It was in the Mail, actually, wasn't it? I hate the Mail. But it was saying, all this nonsense that we're left with 2 vaccines with no protection just isn't true. It just isn't true. The AstraZeneca, you have the T cell response, which is what you need for this, because T cell response is the same as a natural response. And I just feel like we're being given very muddy answers on the vaccine at the moment. I think you're right, Mark. I think it would be really good to have people up there just explaining exactly because what we've got is usually so many conflicting articles on everything. You tend to read which ones you like the most.
Songbirdies will sing Imogen's happy birthday at the end, absolutely. Zoe, my dad was in hospital last week because he's not very well at the minute and he had to go in on his own. So sorry. It's just so difficult. I feel there isn't any compassion for loved ones. No, I agree, Zoe.
Well, that's why Zoe, I was so cross with him saying appointments will be cancelled on Sunday night, because people don't know which one of those appointments are going to be cancelled. And it was really scary for people. And And being scared is really bad for your immune system.
Yeah.
So think about that, you know, do your meditation, you look after yourself, eat well, sleep well, get fresh air, take your vitamin D, you know, all that stuff. And you know.
Tim, hi Tim, I hope you're well, mate. Wish they would do more research into long COVID. I know you're struggling with that too. Didn't, this is a really important point here. I'm a genetic engineering student. Sometimes when we ask our teachers this question, they say they don't know either.
Oh, now I don't know what genetic engineering is.
Well, they engineer your genetics, so he's involved with the kind of genetic.
Oh,
I
God,
presume
how fascinating.
you're involved with the interference with genetics.
What,
but
like the
service of,
mRNA vaccine?
well, maybe yeah. In terms of, is RNA adjustment of a vaccine part of that? Anyway, I mean, we know what genetics are, and engineering is, I presume, construction and deconstruction. Muck about. I'm sure you like your degree being called that, didn't? But it's interesting that even if you ask experts in the field, they're struggling to give you an answer.
Yeah.
And I think that tells you a lot. It's like with historians sometimes, when you try to get them to go far enough back to give you the proof, they ain't got any proof, or they've got very little that they're pinning their
I just
stories
want
on.
to tell you about these things. My sister, you know, my sister Dina is very well read up on the immune system. Now, I'm not endorsing any make.
This is no endorsement.
I'm not endorsing any make. This is just what I buy, and I could change to other makes, you know. So, quercetin is a brilliant antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Vitamin C, take shitloads of it. This is really nice. You put a little scoop in water. The girls really like it as well. It's nice. You had it yesterday, didn't you? And a little scoop like that. This is sort of thing. That's 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C.
And what does all this do for you?
This is supports the immune system,
Right.
and anybody that looks at this, and this is what John Campbell said: D3, vitamin D with vitamin K.
This is not medical recommendation.
But these, look up about these things. No, it's not medical. This is to support your immune
No, I
system.
know, but-
Because somebody was asking me, what do I take? So I take quercetin, vitamin C and vitamin D. You must Google it yourself. You must ask your doctors yourself, you know, for whatever you're on. But as a family, that's what we take every day.
Melanie Williams, that's not true. There's plenty of resources online. There are, but always check where those resources are coming from. Check who's funding them. Check who's supporting them. More often than not, for instance, an interesting fact about the veterinary industry is that when they study, diet and food and what have you, on their degrees, the science that they're taught is funded by the food manufacturers. So if that can happen in a field like veterinary, training, one has to sort of query, where is some of the funding, where is some of the research happening? Research and funding and online resources can be supported by pharmaceutical, companies. So yes, you're right. There are resources online, but it's about always balancing out one resource with another resource, all that kind of stuff. Just one final story. Go for
and
it.
zinc. Zinc, when you take vitamin C, supports the vitamin
But
C.
schools have been massively hit with the Omicron news. Schools have been hit by severe low attendance as 20,000 boosters are booked every hour. So schools are really struggling. We know of schools where there's lots of kids absent because they're just not feeling right. I tell you what I'm worried about with Omicron. Not that it could be more dangerous, but do we know that the testing systems can pick it up?
Well, they were a few days ago. There was quite a bit about it saying that it picks it up quite well on the lateral flow.
Oh, right, really?
We've heard all that sort of stuff before.
Well, I just wonder. I wonder why so many kids are struggling at school, but or are off school, but for no obvious reason. Final bit of story. First of all, final story. Bizarrely, Ghislaine Maxwell's Black Book
We're going to sing to her.
Ghislaine Maxwell's Black Book is not going to be submitted as evidence in her court case or seen. The jury is going to see part of it. We're not going to have any visibility on it. So we're never going to get that sort of insight on who exactly was in the book. The prosecution and the defence have brokered a deal whereby the public cannot in any way pour over this.
We'll be talking a lot more about that.
And members of the jury can look at excerpts from it, just bits of it. So
I wonder if that's because there's some very important people in it.
I wonder if there's a judge or two in there.
Zoe just said she keeps forgetting it's not called the crumpet variant.
Oh.
Do you know what? It's taken off at work.
Has it?
People are calling it the
crumpet variant. There we
Kate
go.
texted me yesterday and went, because with this crumpet variant.
So let's sing a happy birthday to Imogen. You're 15 today.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Imogen. Happy birthday to you.
I love the name Imogen. Do people call you Immy? I had an
I love
Immy
that.
in my life in the past. and
I
she was
wonder
lovely.
if there was somebody else's name for a birthday, if you quickly can say it. Just, Mark, if you keep your eye on, I'll
Yeah.
just say, don't
Sydney,
forget
Sydney.
to okay, yeah, we'll do Sydney. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to watch Vlogmas, because we have the amazing Ninja Grill to give away at the end of Vlogmas, and we're going to ask 3 questions from 3 different episodes, and you'd have to answer all 3 right to win the grill.
And also, if you're not a member, you can become a member for 37 pence a week, and you get a live, no-name Sunday, Saturday show through, I think, up until
Sunday or
Christmas.
Saturday,
Sunday
not
or
both.
Saturday, because of Vlogmas. And there are often £50 vouchers to be won or offered in those shows too. So, but you get exclusive content. You get Teddy talks when he's feeling well enough, books, news. Nadia cooks sensational dishes, and you get the carnage and chaos of Lisa Loves, and all of us going ballistic in the house. So, and in the new year, it will return to pre-records and stuff like that. So let's do a sing.
Happy birthday, Sydney.
Finally. There's been a bit of a gap. Our new Confessions of a Modern Parent episode lands today. Go to your Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Global Player. Today's Confessions of a Modern Parent, it ended up being a really rich discussion, is about vaping and e-cigarettes.
Scary.
Yeah, it is a bit scary.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sydney. Happy birthday to you.
18, that's a big deal. Anyway, guys, have a lovely day. Obviously, Vlogmas will be landing later. We've got to film the bloody thing. Bye.